143rd Annual Royal Ulster Academy Exhibition here in the Ulster Museum in Belfast. I am delighted to welcome twins, fellow artists, ceramicists and entrepreneurs Karen and Claire Gibson. You're very, very welcome.
Thank you.
Delighted to have you here beside, again, this stunning piece, The Boys. And we were talking about how, as twins, you are very much connected in not just in your business, but in your art form, and that this really is a creation by both of you.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, we always chat in the studio about the direction the work's going in and what we're going to make next. And yeah, it was quite funny actually. We were throwing ideas around between ourselves and just trying to figure out, you know, the finer details of the pieces, like the the other one that I made, the one that matches that one has a fish head and a she's like a fish. But this one, I wanted the top of her head to reflect the life buoy.
So what's the significance of, well, first of all, of the piece and how you've created it, and also the number on the actual buoy itself?
The piece came about actually after we were over in New Zealand earlier in the year. So we were visiting our other sister, Heather, and we pretty much spent a lot of the time. We always do this whenever we're about. We just constantly take photographs of wherever we are, whatever we see, whatever we like the look of. And in New Zealand, they're very into steampunk, and that's quite up our street because we like antiques and shabby chic and all that kind of a look.
There was a lovely town called Oamaru, and they had the steampunk museum there, and so there was a big, huge like cylinder for keeping oil or whatever in, and it was blue and had all the little buttons,
the rivets,
all the wee rivets on the sides, and we were just fascinated by it. So we took lots of photographs of that.
So we talked about where we're going to make stuff based on that whenever we came home, because the form is lovely. You know, the form of those big boys, especially when they're like, they'll have them sitting outside restaurants and
they're usually lying on their side.
Yeah. And you just notice when they're taken out of, you know, whatever context they were meant for, that they're actually really beautiful, and you know, they're also huge. The scale is brilliant as well. So that's the kind of thing that we would notice and take photos of. And
funny enough, though, we'd already been making the smaller little baby heads, like little dolls. They were from a Tiny Tears doll, and we had a lovely girl called Ellie May, a student, in for some master classes, and she actually brought us in the larger doll, the baby doll, and I was like, oh wow, it looks much more like a baby than a doll.
Yes.
So we decided to make a mold of it, and then we were able to like scale up the size a wee bit because, you know, a life buoy, a marine life buoy should be big, you know. But it's hand built, so I couldn't make it that much bigger.
Yeah, and do you always use porcelain clay?
We use various clays actually.
We use hand building clay. I use porcelain.
You use the porcelain.
I use paper clay a lot.
So the body of that is actually built with a white hand building body. It's ES40 from Scarva, and so it's a really versatile clay. It's lovely because it fires white as well. So. But although I do go over it with a little wash of white, you know, porcelain slip. Yes. So that when I go to paint the piece afterwards, I'll get much better colour definition.
But it's a nice contrast between the shiny and the
matte.
Yeah.
And it actually looks quite metallic. You know, there's something like, it reminds me of Daleks and space ages, and also too. Did you build it with slabs? You know, the base
slabs
of it?
And coils, yeah. I used like a bowl mould for the very bottom piece, and then I made I got a piece of plastic and rolled it into a cone, and made myself a cone the right size,
and attached them together.
And attached them together, and then just built the wee feet and all after that. But so it was quite fun to do, quite time consuming actually.
Because you can see it is very intricate, and I think that's something, I mean, the beauty about this exhibition is that it has everything from paintings, ceramics, textiles, print, you know, practically every medium that you can think of. And it's lovely to see year after year how artists, particularly in the area of sculpture, are actually pushing the boundaries. You know, I'm always curious to listen to how people respond to the work, you know, in close earshot of the artists.
Oh, absolutely.
Have you picked up any little...
Absolutely, because the reason we had the title Hybrid was because we were making a piece for the Potfest show that we have started doing a few years ago.
Potfest Scotland.
Potfest Scotland, we've been doing
great.
for the last 3 years, and it's brilliant. You get a title for your exhibition piece and everybody puts them in the middle, and so you get to kind of stand around and you can hear what people are just generally saying about different pieces that they see.
I actually just sort of hung around for a while so I could hear a few different people's reactions to it. And
Some people are terrified
one
by
minute
them.
you'll have somebody that's going, "Oh, that's so beautiful. I'm so touched by it," and then, you know, literally
else will
5
be
minutes
literally
later, somebody
horrified.
goes, "Oh, get it away from me."
But there's something very haunting. There is something very haunting about it, and I can see how it could be used on sets, and you know, there's lots of different opportunities there. I'm curious as well, because you have been really very, very dedicated to your craft as entrepreneurs as well. I mean, you've been in the same studio for what, 21, 22?
23 years.
23 years.
24 in March.
That's remarkable. So you're Belfast born and bred, live in Whitehead, and then, but your business is in Belfast.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes, our studio's in, it's very handy actually. We can walk into Belfast City Centre really easily from the studio. It's about 5 minutes, so it's handy.
It's very handy for just going around visiting all the galleries as well. Like, we love going out on late night art.
I know, it's great.
On the first Thursday of every month.
Yes.
Because we'll just meet all the other artists around the galleries.
Yeah, we've
and
had
just
the art bus come to the studio a couple of times.
I think that's really important, and I think
we always get work out of it.
yeah, I've no doubt, and I also think as well, there's something about being part of a community of artists.
Yeah, it's
That
lovely.
keeps
For
you
sure.
keeps your
Belfast
spirit
is
up.
that way.
You know, in terms of you as twins, identical twins, and I'm so glad you're wearing two different colours, because at least I know Karen and Claire. But what do you think are the greatest challenges for artists? And do you find your own challenges are the same?
It all comes down to money, really. I mean,
Yeah, it's hard.
I don't know, we've just found at the minute we're just having to work harder and harder and harder to make the same amount of money that
Because everything keeps going
because
up.
everything keeps going up in price, and we can't keep raising our prices, you know,
only so
in line
much.
with inflation.
There's
Because
only, I think ceramics is a bit limited in terms of, you know, for a gallery, fine art, you would get, or you tend to see pieces going
Yes.
for a lot more money.
Yes.
And I don't know whether it's because
It's
ceramics
breakable,
is breakable
yeah.
and people don't want to pay as much for it, but
But the craft
Possibly.
behind, I mean, the process is one that is really, really
I mean,
intense.
yeah,
You know?
if it's well
It
looked
takes-
after, it'll last forever,
But it takes a very long time to actually become really good at pottery. There's
years-
just so much
years
to
of
learn,
practice.
you know. And you can be really good at one area and still have no idea. But there's just so many
And
different
so many,
techniques.
so many things can go wrong as well, you know.
You have to be a masochist.
Who inspired you to get into the arts in the first place?
Oh,
it was the only thing we were good at.
well, no, I mean, we were always going to go to art college, like always. I mean, from when we were really young, we used to hand make all our
Draw.
Christmas cards. And of course, that became a thing. Then we had to keep doing it for
Yes,
years and years
yes.
and years, because everybody expected a handmade Christmas
Yes, yes. So you were entrepreneurs at a very early stage then.
Didn't sell them though.
It was the only thing we were good at, not particularly.
Did you have any artists that inspired you, or any teachers that encouraged you in
Our
a very...
teacher was really good.
Who was your art?
Marcella Lively
Yeah.
was our school teacher.
She was very good.
She was very good.
And then her
she really encouraged us to move into the three-dimensional.
Yes.
Even though there was no pottery sort of equipment there in the school, but we made, you know, paper mache, and we did like
little
a sort of,
three-dimensional scenes.
yeah, and like air drying clay we used, and yeah. So
And
it
there's
was fun.
something about, you know, to be able to manipulate the materials and to work in the round as well.
Yeah.
Because you're having to think 360.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely, yeah. I don't even like drawing things so much, because
know,
it's easier
because-
just to make maquettes to see what the
Well, when something sort of looks different from every angle,
That's
you know,
right.
you can't really draw it from.
and you have to
you can
consider
try.
it. You know, you
We're
have to
just not any
consider
good
it.
at drawing.
I think we actually see in images more, you know. Some people see in images and some people don't. But I think, you know, I'll think about a piece for a long time before I actually make it. And
Yeah, I'll be swimming around
kind
your
of
head.
spin it around in my
Chat
head.
about it for a while.
It's a very brave and bold step to go into business, you know, and to still be in business
Oh, yeah.
in the line of work that you do. So how did that come about? How did that evolve?
I think when we left college, well, we went back and did our MA, postgrad and MA, because we felt like we didn't know enough about
true.
ceramics to go and set up a studio.
And then while we were doing the MA, we did that business course as well.
Yeah, entrepreneur.
So,
and
yeah, that was quite good, actually. 'Cause we had
we
a
And who was your
both
lecturer?
jobs for-
We had different lecturers. I had Bob Sloan at first, and
I
then
had Andy
you
Shields.
had
and
Andy
then-
Shields, yeah.
And then we went to ceramics and had Clive and Peter
Sidis and Peter Mainley.
various. So it was
Inspiring,
good.
inspiring.
And
You
then
know,
for the
ceramics
MA, we had
department was
Roger.
brilliant. And
It was good crack.
and then whenever we opened, we waited a couple of years. We both got a job for a couple of years, got a bit of experience working in shops and things. I was working in Lush, and she was doing the.
I ran the art supply shop in the art college for
Very
a
good.
year and a half, I
Uh-huh.
think. So
we got a bit of
bit of
background
retail
business,
experience.
yeah.
Good, good. And of
Now
course,
we-
building your contacts as well.
And then I worked in the Play Resource warehouse as well.
But it was funny when we opened the studio. When we opened the studio, we got in there and we got it all sorted out, and we got our equipment and the floor painted and all that kind of. And then we sat down and went, "Oh God, what are we going to make?" So like we had to come up with a range of work first, and then.
And then of course you
started
kind
from
of,
there.
once you kind of, your natural instinct would be to carry on the work that you were doing in art college. So we started making, you know, large sort of pots.
But we've got to go really big then,
And then,
it's
yeah.
not practical to work really big whenever you're.
Yeah.
And especially, as we were talking earlier as well, as artists, you know, it's lovely to have the time and the space and the money to indulge in preparing for your exhibitions.
Yeah.
But when you are, as an artist, living from hand to mouth and you're in a business, it's a very different ballgame.
different.
But you've been really, really quite diverse in what you've been doing. You know, so let me know.
You have to be.
Yeah, because you know, from making awards for community
Yeah,
groups.
we started actually years ago.
That was the very first job we did, wasn't it? An awards job.
yeah. So
We
we
did
got into awards.
It was
and-
Premier Training Awards that we did, and that sort of sent us off on a sort of.
I think shortly out, like we've been doing the Taste of Ulster Awards for about 13, 14 years.
14.
That's brilliant.
14.
So that's
And
been good to get our work.
That's a brilliant coup as well, and to see the commercial world embrace that.
Yeah.
Yep.
We actually met an agent in Dublin when we were doing the Dublin Craft Fair, and Therese from Promocraft.
So
And she gave us quite a few jobs to do actually over the years. We used to do the
Radio
PPI
Awards.
Radio Awards.
it's really good because you know you've got the work coming every year.
Yes.
Usually
Yeah,
if
we've-
a set of awards happens, like we've just handed over the TransLink Ulster and Bloom ones, and they're ordered by Nilga, and then hopefully they'll be back next year to get more of those. And so they're ongoing, and you know it takes the pressure off because we need to bring in quite a lot of money every month just to get by.
And to
some months
maintain,
you
I mean, to maintain the equipment and your rent, presume, and you know, all of that as well is.
So yeah,
It's
we,
a
no,
lot.
and then we were wholesaling our ceramics up until about 15 years
17
ago.
years ago, yeah.
And then we stopped wholesaling and we started picture framing from our studio. So we turned our kiln room into a picture framing room because we were making up our own frames to frame our own ceramics anyway. And then we realized we started ordering the frames in bits with the frame and the
Yeah.
mount and the glass. And then we were like,
We
well,
still
no,
had to
actually,
put- we still had to put them
it all
together,
So
so-
you might as well just make it from scratch
Yes,
yourself.
yes.
And then that kind of led to doing framing for all sorts.
For
and then
other
we have a lot of
artists,
friends
so-
who are artists, so it's
Of
really
course,
handy. 'Cause
and then you're telling me as well that you're like almost like the repair shop as well. There's a growing industry there, which is great to know because there is a sensitivity. You know, if one artist respects
Yeah.
another artist's work and understands the concept of how it's created.
Yeah.
There's a much more wholesome kind of sense of trust, because every relationship now is based on trust, and there's an element of risk as well. But particularly in business, that's very cool, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you're never going to make a lot of money doing those kind of jobs. They usually take up more time.
Restoration's good money.
I mean,
we're quite into restoration anyway, because we live in Victorian houses.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
excellent.
where we live, all the houses are Victorian or Edwardian. So, you know, the cornice work and the ceiling roses and all.
So you
I
can
love
do all
that.
that?
So yeah, we've been asked to restore some cornice work in the past, and then it's the same with picture frames. You know, those big gilt frames that always get damaged, and we'll be brought those to repair for people and just make wee plaster sprigs to stick on, and then
Brilliant, because the source of the material, or the source of the photograph, is precious, and the frame is part of that over the years. And then the jewellery is something else that you do. I suppose it's easier to manage because it's a smaller scale.
that's her thing. Actually,
yeah,
I don't do the jewellery. I can't be bothered with small stuff.
Sometimes I wonder why I do it to myself as well. I don't really, like, I'll go as far as a necklace, but I wouldn't do earrings. It's too fiddly. But I do like making jewellery.
You were tempted though to do jewellery back in college.
I was.
I wasn't. I was like, no, I'm not doing anything that small.
I was down to
kind of more on
jewellery,
sculpture
textiles, or ceramics, but ceramics won in the end.
Being so close, and also family, and the same, you know, context in terms of your arts kind of interest and back. Is that a help or a hindrance?
Oh, it's definitely a help.
it's a help.
It's definitely a help. You don't feel like you're alone in your studio. There's always somebody there to ask.
Yeah,
how do you do this, or
How
how do you,
does that look nice? And to be fair, whenever we ask each other, does this look good? What I've just done?
You better be ready for an honest answer.
because
whether you want to do
you
it.
do
we will
want-
be honest, brutally honest.
And it can be brutal, but it is authentic, and I think, you know, only family can do that, you know, really as well.
There's that thing when you've been looking at your own work for a certain amount of time, and you
get
need to get
blind,
up and walk away from it and come back and look at it with fresh eyes. But we can just do that really quickly. We're getting the other one of us to look at it.
Does that look crap?
Time away actually does give you a new perspective. You know,
absolutely.
Or take a photograph of it, actually. It's a really good thing to do, because when you see a photograph of a piece you're halfway through, you'll instantly see all the
bits
all the
that you don't
flaws.
like
That's
about
right.
it,
Yeah, like
true.
proportionally, you know, if the piece isn't right.
But it's the same with running the studio as well. There being somebody else there is really nice, because like if you can't do something on the computer, or because I'm Claire's the computer twin. I'm not. I'm no good at computers at all.
And in terms of the inspiration for your work, you mentioned, you know, your trip to New Zealand, and I'm looking at the jewellery, and, you know, where does it come? You know, do you find that lived experience also?
Yeah, anywhere and everywhere. The insect range actually started. The very first piece in the insect range was
A moth.
a porcelain light bulb with moths on it, because I wanted to put moths on the light bulb. So then we started with the moths, and then we came and visited the bug collection here.
Took loads of photographs of the butterflies and the bugs.
We transferred some of the our imagery from here, some of the gorgeous bugs and butterflies here.
Yeah.
In terms of ambitions, apart from keeping the business running, have you any burning desire with what you would love to do, or what you'd like to create in terms of your own work?
Absolutely. I'd love to get more time to do more of the sculptural pieces.
I didn't even get time to do a piece.
It's been so busy. I know. It's been so long since we actually had a solo show. Our last solo show was in Craft NI years ago.
But for us, if we sit down for a month to make some, you know, work, then that's going to pretty much cost us $5,000 in the studio running costs. So So to stop and make some gallery work is, you really have to squeeze it in around everything else that you're doing in order to get by at the same time. So we'll find it quite difficult. And we don't apply for many grants, because we tend to find that some of the grant forms take about 2 weeks to fill in.
I know,
And
it's
you
like
know,
a very lengthy.
you're so right, because that time that you're investing in something that maybe possibly could happen
Yeah.
is something that you have to weigh up the pros and
Yeah.
cons,
Amazing.
and the whole idea of keeping your business going, and the whole area of making sure that you have stock
Yeah.
is hugely significant.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
And we quite like the response to the exhibition thing for Potfest, because you're making your stock to sell at Potfest anyway. So if you squeeze in a bit of time in that time that you've given yourself to do a competition piece, at least you know whenever you get there that the rest of your work should sell enough to make you a good enough income for that month to be there and to get the other piece made. If you know what I mean. So yeah, it
how
works quite well.
important is it, do you think, to be visible in craft fairs and Potfest, and you know what do
Very
you
important.
and
Very,
why?
yeah.
Why would you?
It gets your work out there. You get to advertise your
Yes.
website, so people will come and buy from you other times of the year.
Yeah, we've actually upped the amount of shows that we've been doing over the last few years, because we over COVID we got a wee bit of funding to get our new website done, and then we were like, right, well, we've got a new website, we need people to use it, people to know about it. So we're booked in for quite a few more shows than usual, just to give out business cards and make everybody aware that they can buy the stuff online as well.
Also,
Not the
I
stuff,
think
the work.
Northern Ireland's probably still catching up with the
Yeah.
rest of,
Yes.
you know, just in terms of the way craft and art is perceived, I suppose, because in the south of Ireland, you tend to
Yeah.
find that the general public are more used to
Buying art. I
Buying,
don't know. Yeah,
yeah,
years gone by, all of our
craft.
shows would have been in the south of Ireland.
Yes, yes. I think there is a distinct difference, and I think too, it's great to see there's increasingly more three-dimensional work in the exhibition, alongside, you know, a lot of the 2D, you know,
Yeah.
and across the various media materials and process as well. But I do think that, you know, this idea of investing in art is something that maybe we're a wee bit slower up here. You know, there is
Yeah.
something very, very pertinent and precious about investing in a piece
Yeah.
that it's like a lifelong companion.
Yeah,
you know,
you'll love it all,
Absolutely.
you'll
Oh my
love
God.
it forever. And
Yeah.
every time you walk past it, you'll look at it in your
See
house.
our,
Or,
see our houses.
and an
full of art.
investment. And there's something nostalgic as well. And I think artists by nature support other artists.
yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. You know?
Definitely. It's lovely having other artists' work.
But I love-
Makes you think of the person whenever you're looking at the art
Oh,
as
yeah,
well as the art itself.
Yes.
Like there's
Which is
always a
nice.
wee story behind every piece that you
Yes.
have, and every time I walk past all of my sculptures that I have, you know, I'll think about chatting to that person and you know,
When.
and
Yes.
where and when, and it just
College friend. We
evokes
used to
all
do
those
loads of stuff out of
memories.
Skip in college.
Do you teach as well? Have you thought about that? Yes.
We used to do a lot of teaching actually. We used to go out and do workshops with community groups all the time.
We've got public art pieces around Belfast.
Yeah.
In
Where are
fact,
they?
we just
I'm
got-
curious about those.
Oh, we've
There's
got one
there's
in-
a place called Edgecombe TRC is a mental health and wellbeing
Centre,
like a
and
respite
we
centre.
worked with every adult in the
And
the
where is
centre.
that? Where exactly is that?
It's up sort of, you know, Hollywood. The
Yes.
Tesco's up at Hollywood.
Yes.
It's just off around the corner there.
And we made these ceramic fish, and there's like a rounded bit in the middle. It's meant to be like a fisheye lens, so it's all
With images of Belfast,
and then the outside of the fish are all textured, so that we
Like
could just
sensory.
make the pieces with the group, and it, you know, we just had a template, and they were able to do the
and
textures.
it's about 5 foot square. We
And
did
then
a
it'd be
big mural for the Shankill Road, and it was 11 foot by 18 foot, and it took us a year.
It's still there.
It's
It
still-
got
yeah, it's still-
moved
it's
around to
in,
Shankill
Uh-huh.
Parade, so it's
Shankill
called the Lost
Parade.
Streets.
Yes.
So yeah.
In terms of challenges for you as artists, I mean, you've got a very successful business, but you work very, very hard. I mean, do you work what 6 days a week? Do you take time off at all?
We tend to not work too much at the weekend unless
Yeah.
we've got a show on.
Yeah.
You know,
Uh-huh.
so we don't work Saturday and
Yeah,
Sunday, but
because you need that breathing
we'll still
space.
be beachcombing and taking
Yeah,
photographs. and
that's where the
And the inspiration is
comes
everywhere.
in.
The inspiration when you are alert, I suppose,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
vigilant.
Yeah, I think it's just
We
having
do
an
hang
artist's
out.
eye,
We do
you
hang
know.
out on the beach quite a lot and just
Yeah.
pick stuff up.
You see things everywhere. We always tend to go on a trip somewhere if we're gonna embark on some new exhibition work. We usually go somewhere. Like we went to Chernobyl, and then based a load of work on our trip to Chernobyl.
We have a friend, Zoe Murdoch. She's actually in the
I know
RUA
Zoe's
here.
work.
It's lovely.
So we went together.
We were actually out on late night art one night, and we came up with the idea. Well, actually,
Zoe's
Zoe
idea.
said, "Do you want to go to Chernobyl?"
We were
And we
like,
went, "Yeah, okay." And off we went, and we did a whole exhibition in the Clinton Centre in Enniskillen.
I remember it.
Yeah, and then we travelled it to Ard's Art Centre.
Yes.
I had another exhibition there, and yeah.
Diane Henshaw would have been the arts officer then.
Exactly,
Yes, I know Diane well.
Yeah. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and then we were at primary school with Diane. It's funny, all the connections that you know that do keep coming up through your life. It's important.
It is important, and I think artists
keep that
do look out
network
for each other, and
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of learning, and I think there's actually a mutual appreciation of what you have to do
Absolutely.
as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You know.
Yeah.
Who inspires you? Do you inspire each other?
Yeah, actually. Yeah, I mean, I used to be really jealous of Karen's ability to making pattern on pieces, and it wasn't really until I started making the dolls' heads I really just started enjoying, you know, doing each one differently. Like, because we would do festivals during the summertime. We used to do big bubbles at festivals, and we always paint our faces. So I just imagine the dolls are like my face when I'm doing myself up for a show. Or
And when you say the show, the big bubbles, you mean you are the bubbles, and
we used to do giant bubbles for kids. Just you know, just
So you make a
get your
tri-loop,
tri-loop,
and some bubble mix, and
oh
spit
yes,
out giant
spit out
fabulous,
big
yes,
bubbles.
yes,
Just for the crack.
Uh-huh.
It was good fun.
yeah.
And,
but that playfulness is very, very important. You know, to
Yeah.
be playful.
Yeah.
You know, I think sometimes we lose that as
I know.
adults.
Maybe we've just never grown up.
I think
have
we've
we?
just never grown up. I think maybe it's because we don't have any kids of our own. Like, we've got nephews.
Yeah, but I think being playful is all part of
But
being
yeah,
an
very
artist.
much so. I think it keeps you young.
It's been fascinating talking to you. I could talk to you. I mean, I'm curious about your individual, you know, context, but you come as a unit. It's so obvious.
We're quite
you know.
opposite of each other when it comes
I know, it's
to
funny.
our style.
We have like strengths and weaknesses. Like Karen does the books in the studio. I do all the computer work and kind of.
We'll both do the photography, but you're
we both
better
do
at
photography.
it, admittedly.
Of course, I'm better at Karen.
I'm not admitting to anything else that you're better at.
It's just been lovely having you here. Congratulations on this year's exhibition and the publication, the John Good publication of ceramics across the island of Ireland. You're very, very worthy of being involved in that.
Oh, thank
And
you.
it's great to see you
I know, it's a lovely book.
celebrating.
It's actually a really lovely book.
Yeah.
Is this one? That's the first
Yeah,
one,
this
isn't
is
it? And that's the second one.
This is the second one, yeah.
And I mean, that's the best of the best
Yeah, it's
across the island of Ireland. So well done.
Oh, thank you.
Well done. I could talk to you all
Lovely
day.
to be here.
And to see your work and curious to know what will happen in the future. I wish you the very, very best. Thank you.